Hey, good evening, and welcome to the Comics Experience Graphic Novel of the Month Club. It's December 2020. This year is almost over. Thank God, this year is almost over. And we're gonna end this year with a fantastic selection for the Comics Masterpiece Club. Honestly, it's kind of the text of comics, and we should have started with this book. Started the club with this book, but I'm very, very happy to bring us Understanding Comics with our guest tonight, Mr. Scott McCloud. Hello, Scott. How are you, my friend?
Just great, Brian. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thanks so much for participating. I have a modern copy of the copy here, but
Yeah.
I brought my actual home copy, which has a broken spine and has been really well read. And this is a book that it's always been a part of, how I think about comics. And it's a very powerful book. And I really want to thank you for, it's been 20 something years, but thank you for
even more. You're very kind. It's actually that thing's been around now. It's 93. So we're looking at 27 years.
27 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Coming up on the 30th anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting close.
Yeah. You're gonna have to
do see the gray hairs. I got the gray hairs in the follow-up books, but I don't have them yet. Nah.
Yeah, absolutely. In so many ways, I think that comics are, as a visual medium, it's not like movies and television where, well, certainly there are stylists, right? But basically, there's kind of one way to tell a story, kind of whereas in comics there's 50 ways to do it. There's 100 ways to do it, and I've never quite understood why that is, and yet it's true.
Well, it's a more opaque medium, right? Because the style of the artist is more in your face.
Yeah. And
like if you think about it, you can have different cinematographers, you can have a different visual style, you can have a lot of things different, from show to show, from movie to movie, from director to director.
Yeah.
But if it's live action, it's going to have a lot in common visually, right? Yeah. It's going to move the same. A person walking down the street has a particular rhythm to it. Light falls in a certain way. Trees look a certain way. It doesn't matter who the director is. An elm tree is going to look like an elm tree, right? Yeah. But when a different artist is drawing it, you're asking a lot more of the reader. And that reader has to plow through what might be very idiosyncratic drawing styles. And sometimes that's a problem. Sometimes it's a barrier. In fact, often it's a barrier. It's possible that one of the reasons that comics isn't quite as dominant a mass medium, like in a market sense, it might just be because you can't always lose yourself in it. The cartoonist style is kind of in your face, and so it can be drawings on a page. The drawings don't necessarily disappear instantly the way that the fact that a movie is light projected on a wall disappears, right? Yeah. You forget about that in 10 seconds if you see a movie.
Sure.
But you can go a whole book never forgetting that it's drawn. And it's beautiful. The hand of the artist, it's quirky, it's idiosyncratic, but it can also be a barrier. So, like I always like to say, if you're like in serial fiction, when you're following like superhero comics or something that, you're 70 issues in, what happens when a new artist comes in is it can be really upsetting because all of your favorite characters have been replaced by drawings of your favorite characters. Right? You know what I mean?
Sure,
it's like, shit, now it's drawings again.
Right.
That's not what he looks like. Even if the old artist was crappy, that you had managed to work your way through the style so that the disbelief just melted away, and now they were people, and that just goes away. You have to do it all over again if a new artist comes on.
Yeah, I think there's another piece of it too, in that the audience participates in the reading of comics.
Oh yeah,
you don't in film in the same way, right? Because film,
not in the same way.
Film unspools at whatever it is, 32 frames per second or whatever it is.
Yeah, 20. Yeah. Oh no,
20,
animation is 24. Yeah, 30.
Whatever
30.
it is, it's coming at you at a speed, and you can't stop that. You can't.
Yeah.
You can pause it. You can, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not like in comics. In comics, I constantly am going, wait, let me go back 4 pages and let me reread that sequence again. Now I see what they were. Now I get it, right? You know, you don't do that in film. I mean, you can. You know, I don't know. I watched Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean probably 6 times in a row before I uncracked it, you know, but it's not the same because you don't have control as an audience member of what you're taking in.
That's right. In movies, and television, in the moving image, it's always now.
Yeah.
Right. It's always now. And whatever's to come, that's just anticipation. Whatever happened in the past, it's just memory, right?
Yeah.
And that's true. That's true in almost all other art forms. It's true in theater. It's true even when you're reading a novel, even though the words are around you, you haven't really decoded them, right? You know, so you're just like in that one little phrase that you're reading at a given time. It's always now. In comics, past, present, and future, it's all around you. And it's the only medium that I can think of in which that's a defining characteristic. Yeah. But you said like as far as reader control, now, of course, the fact that readers in comics have to fill in the blanks a lot. We do that in film, of course. We do that with the cut. And people like really early on in the 20th century, there were like, you know, all these Russian film theorists and whatnot, like Kuleshov, where we're talking about this idea that like if you can have the exact same clip followed by, you know, second clip A, and you're going to interpret the first one differently depending on what you juxtapose it with. So you had like a shot of a man followed by a bowl of soup, and now you think that he looks hungry, or you have a shot of a man followed by a little girl in a coffin, you think he looks sad, but it's the exact same shot of the guy both times, right? Yeah. So that's analogous to what happens in comics is that participation between shots. But what you were talking about where it's just like going from one frame to the next, now you're just talking about the persistence of vision. It's mechanical.
It's an interesting thing. So your new book on visual communication is coming out next year, 2022?
No, we don't have a firm publishing date. It involved a huge amount of research. And it's just it's taken a long time, but I'm well along on it. But I don't know. I don't want to give dates because it's only going to come back to haunt me.
Are you like fully thumbnailed, let's say?
Nearly fully, yeah. Nearly fully.
Okay.
And it's up around 500 pages, and that thing's got to come down. Mm-hmm. It can't be that long. It's too long.
Have you started any of the execution of the actual pages?
No. I never draw a single page until I have. And remember, when we say thumbnails, they ain't thumbnails.
Understood.
They're super finished looking. Mm-hmm. In many ways, I suppose you could say I've really already started the pages. In fact, this time I might actually take those roughs, so to speak, and just treat them as the bottom layers. And because the lettering, I've actually been lettering it on top of it. It's just they're almost quasi. I don't know. They're semi-finished pages, really, if I'm to be honest with myself.
Yeah. What's your process like? I'm kind of thinking that you must work fully digital these days.
I have been working fully digital since 2000.
Yeah. Okay.
So for the last 20 years, there is no original art.
Okay.
If there was even the New Adventures of Abraham Lincoln, which is like 1999, there was no original art.
Right.
The last thing that had original art was, you know, Zot, Understanding, and that's it.
Is there value in having original art as a cartoonist trying to make a living?
Yeah.
Like able to sell
people sell it, but you know, like my artwork, you know, I'm not Craig Thompson or anything. I'm not Craig Russell. Not anybody named Craig. Yeah. Like it's just my work is not the kind of thing that, you know, people would be clamoring to buy. So it's just like, so that it wasn't as big a sacrifice for me. But the big thing for me, remember I said the thing about design for the device?
Yeah.
To me, the original art is what gets printed.
Yeah.
That is the original. That I would have told you that. 24-year-old me would have told you that. It's why I used brush markers when I was doing Zot. Right. I believe very, very strongly that you had to think in terms of the finished printed page. The printed page was the work of art. Everything else was a tool that you used to achieve that printed page. Anything that made that page better, fine. If you had to start you using, like a porcupine quills to get that, if you had to use disappearing ink, if you had to use egg whites, it doesn't matter. Whatever gets you that's what mattered. Because if I had to start thinking about what I could sell at a convention, I would have signed a agreement with the devil. I was a real purist with that.